Hello everyone. Let us look at the bar and the column chart. So let's make a new sheet. Let's call it bar and col. Just like you would do on Excel or on any other software, we have a bar and a column chart. Let's see how to do this on Tableau. So I will start by market and sales, or double click on both of them. In the show me, I can select a horizontal bar. Very simple. Then you can use Control up and down arrow to increase the height and Control left and right to change the width. It's as straightforward as it gets. You get a simple bar chart. Let's make a duplicate. If you want to switch, you can either do it directly in the rows and columns by putting the sales in the rows and the market in the columns. That's one way of doing it. Or you can also click on this swap rows and columns button. The shortcut is Control W, and it allows you to switch between the bar and the column chart. As easy as that. Now we have a column chart with us. Now there are a few different ways I can work with it. Let's have a look. If I keep my segment and I keep it in the columns, then it basically makes all of these. So I have 5 different blocks. Each block represents one market, and then in each market I have 3 segments. That would be one way to present it. Looks great. But the problem is the values that you see at the bottom in the x-axis, they are not readable. So I can right click and rotate the label so that it looks like this. Also now I can put the color in 2 different ways. So I'll make a duplicate. In the first one, I will keep the color, which means the market in the color. So now we get 5 different colors for 5 different markets. And in the next one, I will remove the market from the color, but I'll keep the segment. So now you get 3 colors for each one of the 5 markets that we have. One more option that you would have is to not keep either the market or the segment, but to keep a value. For example, the profit in the color will give us a result like this. And as we did before, I can keep sales as the height of the column and the profit in the color. So here, I'm keeping the sales value in the previous one. So basically the color and the height of the column are correlated because both are sales. Sales is in the rows and sales is in the color as well. In the second one, we're keeping the profit in the color and the sales in the rows. Like that. Let's make another duplicate. Now, what if I keep a third dimension in the color? For example, what if I keep my category in the color? Now, this means that this will now get converted into a stacked column chart like this. Let's again right click and duplicate. Now what I can also do here is, if you notice, I can select my sales value and I can say quick table calculation and I can select % of total like that. And then one more time, I can say compute using and I can say table down. Once again, I'm selecting quick table calculation % of total, and then I'm saying compute using table down. This way you get a 100% stacked chart. This is the previous one. This is the current one. Obviously you can see the values in this as well. So if I drag my sales value into the label, it won't work. The reason is because you're shifting it from the rows into the text label. Let me undo that. The trick here is that you have to press the Control key. So if I press the Control key and then I move it and then I keep it in the label, it comes on both the places, in the rows as well as in the marks label. So now you notice we get the label and we get the value in the rows as well. What you can also do is, rather than keeping the quick table calculation, I can now clear the calculation. So inside the label, you see the number, but then the height is basically representative of the percentage. So, you can mix and match these things. So I'll make a duplicate and do both of these. so that you have this for reference. Now, if you really want to be creative, you can also explore with the size, which means that what if I keep my sales in the size as well? Now you notice the size changes as well. Now see, here's the thing. Should you or should you not do it? Again, there's no right or wrong answer to it. It really depends on what type of chart you are presenting. So I want to show this to you on a different one, maybe not on this one. So I'll make a duplicate. And in this one, first let's remove the segment. So simply drag it outside. And we also want to remove the label. We'll keep a simple chart. In fact, let's work on it from scratch. So I'll first clear the sheet. So market, double click, sales, double click. We will make this into a bar chart. Swap rows and columns to make it into a column chart like this. Now what I can do is I can also keep the sales in the size so that the thickness of the bar changes. Again, always realize that you don't want to make a chart too fancy, because at the end of the day, it has to be understandable. Now, while you might feel that, oh, this is a great way of presenting the data, and it allows me to present the data in a different and in a more descriptive, more detailed manner, the truth is that for somebody who looks at it, there is an ambiguity. You are not quite sure what this represents. So just because we can do it doesn't mean that you should necessarily do that. Just keep that in mind. But yes, just to show you that it is possible, I wanted to show you that this would work as well. We can also add some reference lines. So I will again click on market, click on sales, make it into a column chart. And now on my y-axis, I can right click and we can add a reference line. Later in this course, I'll tell you how to make a dynamic reference line. For now, we want to make it static. So I'll add a reference line. Now I can either add the reference line as the average, which means that it will find the average of all these 5 and show it to me. So the average is 2528500. I can also edit it. I can also put a constant. Let's say I want to keep a constant value at. Maybe 1,000,000 like this. We can do that as well. And of course, you can add multiple reference lines as well. On the reference lines, you also have some formatting options. So I can change the thickness of the line. I can shade the area above and below in different colors like this. So very creative ways in which you can present the data. Remember, we can make them dynamic as well. Even though I'm not covering it now, we will cover it later. One more that I wanted to cover was, let me first do it from scratch. So we keep the market and the segment and the sales value like this. We make a chart. Now what we're doing here is we have segment and market. In fact, the other way around. The market and the segment in the columns, sales in the rows. Very simple. Now when I add a reference line, you will notice that I can decide to make it as per the entire table, per pane or per cell. Now ignore the per cell. The default is per pane, which means that when I make the average, it shows me one average for every single one of the 5 markets that we have. What if I don't do this? What if I edit it and then I say that I want to do it not per pane, but for the entire table? Now this means there'll be only one average for the entire table. So one is this, the other is this one. So both of them have their own advantages. One allows me to compare against the overall average, and the other one allows me to compare against the average only for that specific market. If you try the third one, and I say I want to find the average per cell, this one, like I said, right now won't make a lot of sense. We will have to first learn some advanced concepts before you can use it. So for now, you can just ignore this one. Just focus on the table and the pane like this.